Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new 2024 Hyundai Santa Cruz Limited. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. Now, normally I film these videos all by myself, but today I have a captive audience of probably about 150. As I pulled up to the filming location, legions of audience members lined the streets. They're also not exactly a quiet audience. Okay, I'll start the video. Thank you. These guys. The Santa Cruz has been compared to the Ford Maverick a lot recently, probably because they're both compact trucks that released around the same time. But I would argue that Ford and Hyundai are targeting two different demographics with these vehicles. I think the Maverick is looking to get absolutely everyone, what with the low advertised price in the high advertised fuel economy. But here on the Santa Cruz, I think Hyundai is targeting more of a lifestyle adventurer with this particular vehicle. It's sort of akin to the Subaru Baja in my mind. And so that's how I'm going to treat the Santa Cruz throughout this review. I'm not necessarily going to be comparing it to the Maverick at every step. I want to give this thing a fair shake because I think it's in a slightly different category. Starting out up front here, you'll have full LED headlights with LED daytime running lights and turn signals. And then in the center of the grille, you'll have a camera for the 360-degree camera system. And in the lower portion of the grille, there is a sensor down here that works in conjunction with a different camera at the top of the windshield to provide a host of safety features on this Santa Cruz. Moving underneath the hood, this limited trim is equipped with the more powerful of the two available engines, a 2.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder, making 281 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. EPA estimates for the all-wheel drive configuration of this Santa Cruz are 21 city, 27 highway, with 23 combined. In my testing throughout this week, I averaged about 24.1. Moving to the profile of the Santa Cruz, starting down here with the wheels and tires, you're going to get 245 50R Michelins around these 20-inch wheels. And then if we move up to the fender flares right here, you get a little Santa Cruz Easter egg right there on the front. That's on both sides and on the rear. It's very similar to the hidden Jeeps on the Wrangler. Then you'll get a body color mirror cap with a turn signal indicator, a camera for the 360-degree camera system, and the turn signals. We'll talk about that in a minute. You also have blind spot monitoring in the mirrors, and they are power operated. Then down here, you do have keyless entry on the front doors, and at night, there is a little light in here that lights up the door handle. That is only on the front doors though. Unfortunately, the rear doors do not light up at night. Moving to the bed of this truck, I am so excited to talk about it because there are some neat innovations here. Hyundai wants to prove to you why you should get a Santa Cruz over a lot of the competition, and frankly, the bed on this truck, albeit small, has some features that mid-size and full-size trucks don't have in certain cases. So it really does stand out as cool and unique. Starting down here at the bumper, I always rant about how I wish more trucks included a step in the bumper because the General Motors trucks do, and it's really nice, but no other manufacturer seems to do that. Except here on the Santa Cruz, they have incorporated it. And even though it's not a massive bed or a huge reach in, even if I'm just standing on the ground, it is useful to have that. And then as we move down here, you'll have Santa Cruz stamped into the tailgate. That is becoming very common on trucks nowadays. Then you'll have Hyundai right there and a backup camera. Now, you can drop the tailgate from this latch, Or, additionally, the key fob also has the ability to drop the tailgate. That too is becoming common in the truck industry. You'll have some cup holders right here. And then this is a retractable tonneau cover. So you can see it says latch and slide right there. If I push that down, and then I'm gonna unhook this because it might get caught. You have a little, another latch right there. I can push that, and that will give us access to the bed. And if you want, you can just pull this and bring it all the way back up. So I think that is a really neat feature. Though we want to get into the bed, so I'm going to push it away one more time. There we go. You'll have LED lights, cargo rails with adjustable positioning tie downs, some stationary tie downs. You have two little cubby storage bins on the side. My Tacoma only has one, so it wins in that category. And then perhaps the highlight feature of the bed on the Santa Cruz, there is a little button down here, and that opens up some storage underneath the bed. This is very, very rare on trucks, but you get it here on the Santa Cruz, and there's drain plugs so you could put some drinks in here with some ice and really have a fun time tailgating. I love that they've included this. It's so rare to see it nowadays, but the Santa Cruz did not skimp. And that is the bed of this truck. A lot more practicality than you'd initially think. And you might be saying, oh, well, it's cool it has that under the bed storage, but other trucks don't have that because they wouldn't be able to fit a spare tire underneath. Well, the Santa Cruz can do both. Hey guys, just jumping in here real quick to let you know that I have merch. I have a variety of t-shirts on my website, beanies, and I've spent thousands of dollars on these 3 professional models to show you guys what my hoodies look like. Wow, look at how good they model. Anyway, if you guys are interested, you can follow the link in the description below. Moving to the interior of the Santa Cruz, it is a lot more premium in here than I initially thought it would be. Let's start here with the door panel, and you can see this silver trim goes all the way around the interior. That's a cool design cue. I really like that. And then down here on the door, you'll get your window switches, lock and unlock, and your mirror controls. And then right here, this is the button for the brightness of that fully digital gauge cluster, which we'll get back to in a second. Then you have your bed light and traction control off. And then down here, this is tilting manually and telescoping for the steering wheel. Speaking of that steering wheel, it is very comfortably wrapped, and it has quite a few buttons on here. So you'll have volume, channel changing, Bluetooth, and then your radar guided cruise control and the buttons for that digital gauge cluster that I previously mentioned. You can cycle through quite a few things on here, and there are some neat features built in. For example, if I hit the turn signal right here, that will turn on the camera on the driver's side mirror, and vice versa if I switch. That is fantastic for merging and helping you with your blind spot. I think that's a really amazing feature that I wish more cars had, but it's cool to see here on the Santa Cruz. And to answer your question, if I hit the hazards, it does not turn both cameras on, unfortunately. But I do really like that concept. Now, if we jump down here really quick, our drive mode selector is here. If we tap different modes, that's going to switch what the gauges look like. Love to see that. That isn't used as often as you'd hope it would be on models of cars that have fully digital gauge clusters, but you do get it here, so that's neat. And then moving to the infotainment system, it is very slick and stylish. Unfortunately, you only get wired CarPlay. At least I could only figure out wired CarPlay. No wireless CarPlay. That was interesting, but it does fill up this entire screen. It is very quick, And there are some other neat features I want to talk about in here while we're on this menu. So for one, there's quiet mode. It only provides sound to the front seats. So if you have rear seat passengers that are maybe falling asleep, younger kids, it's a quick way to move the volume slider essentially up to the front, and it's a neat little detail. Then my favorite part is in the media menu. So if we click this, Sounds of Nature is right here. And if I click List, you can see it gives you quite a few different peaceful sounds that you can cycle through. We turn the volume up. It's very nice. So if you don't want to pair your Bluetooth or your CarPlay, it's almost like adding a calm background soundtrack while you drive. And if we click Sailing on a Ship, it's nice. And it's funny, I was having a conversation here the other day in the Santa Cruz, and we laughed because it was like adding movie soundtrack to the back of our conversation. We thought that was so funny. But I love that little detail. Sometimes you don't know exactly what song you want to listen to, or maybe you just want to turn off music in general and you just want something peaceful. This provides that. I really like that added feature. One thing I'm not a fan of, though, is that this is all gloss black plastic, kind of piano black, and it is just a fingerprint and dust magnet. It is hard to keep this clean, and that kind of extends to some other interior pieces here as well. So that is one thing I'm not a huge fan of. And additionally, on top of that, there's no physical dial for your volume here. It's all buttons that are touch sensitive. And it's not as bad as having a fully digital readout of the climate controls that you can only mess with in the touchscreen. There are physical buttons here, but I do wish that there was actual push buttons that had real feedback or real dials to adjust the temperature. That's just personal preference, and I know other people do wish for that too. I tend to use the volume button right here, this little rocker, since there isn't a physical dial right there. Moving below that, you do get USB, a 12 volt, a wireless charger, and a second USB. So that's nice. You also get some storage down there. And then if we throw this into reverse, this has an incredibly clear 360-degree backup camera. Top-down view is maybe the clearest I've ever seen on a vehicle. It is super crisp, and the lines, of course, move as you turn the wheel. It is very, very helpful, and you can switch between a host of different views and angles. I think that's great. I have to commend Hyundai. They knocked it out of the park with this camera system. And then as we move down here, you'll have the aforementioned drive mode selector, a locker, auto hold, hill descent control, and you can tap this to view your front camera, which is useful. And then you'll have heated and cooled seats and a heated steering wheel. So while this might not be the most off-road focused, there are a couple of off-road features here, and you have all-wheel drive incorporated in, but you also get these nice luxury features too, which I really, really like. It's been a great driving experience overall. It's a nice blend of functionality overall. And then if we hit this button right here, that pops open a little storage bin. Nothing crazy in here, no USBs or 12 volts. Moving up here, you do get an auto-dimming mirror, and then you will have nice LED lights right there, and a standard traditional sunroof. No panoramic moonroof here, though you don't necessarily need that on this particular car. It's nice to have the sunroof at least. And then these seats are very comfortable. They are power operated, and they have power lumbar. And if we jump over here, you get a very spacious glove box. Overall, there's a ton to like on this interior. Sure, it's not perfect, but I have really had a wonderful time in this car over the last week. Moving to the back seats of the Santa Cruz, you'll get a cup holder on each door and a little cargo net on each seat for storage, and 2 climate vents and 2 USBs. So there are some amenities back here. I kind of wish that there was a fold-down armrest right here with perhaps more cup holders, but it's still very comfortable, and it's fairly spacious. I have 2 or 3 inches, maybe 4, of leg room right there, and then I have maybe 2 inches of headroom at 5'9". So not exactly the most spacious, but I can spread out a little bit as an adult. Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick is you do get a manually sliding rear window right here. And this rear window, while it doesn't offer a ton of visibility, it does have a heating element incorporated into it. And for example, today I woke up, there was frost all over the ground, all over the cars, and I couldn't see out this back window, but I hit the button and it heated up and melted super quickly. So that's awesome. My Tacoma, for example, doesn't have that on the rear window, and I basically just have to heat the truck up and open the back window, which is power on that one, to even be able to see out the rear window for a little bit. So it's nice that you at least do have that functionality here as well. Driving the Santa Cruz. If I had to use one word to describe the overall experience that I've had this week with the Santa Cruz, it's comfortable. The handling and overall driving experience on these windy backcountry roads has been comfortable. On the highways, it's comfortable. And the interior as a whole, especially with the luxury amenities like heated and cooled seats and the heated steering wheel, has made sitting here for long road trips comfortable. And frankly, it's given more of a car-like driving experience than a boxy truck one. But I don't think that's an accident. I believe that Hyundai is trying to do that on purpose. They don't want to compete in the big truck market. They want to give you an option that offers something different, a little bit more unique. Yet, over my time with the Santa Cruz this week, everywhere I've gone, at least one person has commented, "Well, that's not a truck, that's an SUV with a bed." And like, yeah, it is. That's not new, and there are famous SUVs with beds that people really like. The Avalanche, the Jeep Gladiator, the Ford Explorer Sport Track, the Baja even. You know, these are cars and trucks that have had their backs lopped off in favor of adding a bed, and people, for the most part, maybe aside from the Gladiator, really like those vehicles. And yet everyone acts like it's new when Hyundai does it. And I think that might come from the fact that Hyundai's not really established as a truck brand. But frankly, I'm glad that they did this. I think that the Santa Cruz fits in line with Hyundai's brand identity far more than any full-size or even mid-size truck that they would come out with. This is very much akin to the Baja, as I mentioned before. It's a lifestyle vehicle, and it gives you the comfort level of an SUV or a sedan with the practicality of a truck. I think, truthfully, this is probably the first truck that I feel fully comfortable recommending as a daily driver for my audience, because it combines everything: the bed, the practicality of the SUV, and much better fuel economy than most trucks. I'm averaging about 23.6 on this particular drive, which isn't phenomenal, but it's way better than almost every other truck that I've driven. And it's comfortable. Well, that is just about going to wrap up my review of the Santa Cruz. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Before I go, though, I'd like to mention that I am a Christian, and if you have any prayer requests, I would love to be able to pray for you guys. You can leave those in the comment section below. And lastly, I like to close out on a weekly scriptural reading. This week, I'm in the book of 1 Peter, starting in chapter 5, verse 6. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you at the proper time, casting all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Take care. And thank you, geese and crickets that have now just joined in the audience.